it gives me hope that maybe I can ski out here.
Yeah, that,
My
that would be
skis
that'd be
are my
awesome.
skis are at my daughter's house in Colorado, so there's
Well, you
that.
know what? Let's pick a good weekend and get everybody. Let's have a reunion up here.
Oh my
I'm
gosh,
in. I'm
love
in
it.
for that.
All right.
I'm in for that. Well, okay.
All
Number
right. So what
number
else we got
four,
here?
I want to make a crazy statement here. We have not talked, Steve, in 36 years.
Holy cow.
Wrap your head around that. So you're one of the people I definitely wanted to reconnect to from camp. Do you have people you'd like to reconnect to?
Yes, absolutely. I will say it happened at Labor Day weekend, and it was just about the same amount of time. A couple weeks ago, it happened. Um, I reconnected with old friend Bev Leidig, and
Oh, that's awesome.
I'd never met her husband Glenn, and met her family, and she said, "You're in town." I said, "Why don't you come over to the music?" Rick invited her over, and it didn't work out, but I went over the next day, and so that was great. And I'm not exaggerating one iota. They were the best summers of my life.
Yeah.
Not even close. And not to say that, life isn't wonderful now, because it is. But the
It's just
laughter,
about
the
it.
memories, yeah, those were the best summers of my life.
Yeah. Don and I've had that discussion so
Yeah,
many
we
times.
have. It's pretty much a consensus for those, and it's we intersected, um, and we talked about preseason. I had a friend text me yesterday. It was Rob Mitchell, and I think I don't know if he was there when you guys were there. He's from Syracuse, Tom.
Okay.
He and Mitchell, but he had a list of like 20 books he was going to read this summer, and he finally got around to reading mine. And he said when he read the preseason chapter, and he was part of the preseason staff, he read it at night and he couldn't sleep because it just opened the floodgates,
Yeah.
just how special
Yep.
preseason time was that he
Oh,
really hadn't thought about in so long, that he had to condition himself to when he read the rest to not read it at night because he wouldn't sleep. But he said it was incredible. And again, Punk's story just encapsulated like a best of that. So I'm
Yeah.
teeing it up for you there.
Okay. Normally, what we do next, Punk, is
well, go back to those questions real quick, Tom. Could you go
yeah,
back real quick?
yeah,
Okay. There was a couple I was going to answer real quick.
yeah, yeah.
Lightning
Um,
round.
yes, real quick. So
Oh, we're good. We're take your time.
my favorite memory of camp, no question, was that Friday night performance. Margie performed Rhapsody in Blue, but I
And you
closed
have
out.
the recording?
I do, and I will. It's. I'm going to have to edit it, do some work to it. It was taken off a cassette from the sound room at camp, and I digitized it. But yes, correct. So I'll try. That is definitely my favorite memory, along with the baked Alaska. I mean,
Is that number five for you? The story you've repeated the most?
um I don't know, the 5 a.m. Barefoot Club. When I roomed with Jimmy Olsen down at the Tentels, and sometimes we would be able to go out when it was glass, and
Well,
that was pretty
you
special.
you roomed with him when he was the barge captain lead?
Yeah, they did. That's right. I heard this.
Oh, I didn't remember that. Okay.
Big
Yeah,
cassette
so
tapes. Yeah.
Jimmy and I had the Tentel right down at the
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
stayed
yeah,
there the
yeah,
year
yeah.
before that with Mike Mazzano.
Yes, yes,
And
yes,
Yeah.
2 years
yes,
after with me.
yes.
Yes. Okay.
Um,
Fantastic.
yeah, you know what? There's so many stories. I'd have to keep writing them down, but those were some of the big ones, like the 5 a.m.
Yeah.
uh yeah, the glass lake stuff, and then that concert and the baked Alaska. I will say, behind the gym, with the cabins that were behind the gym, that year, um there was a great camaraderie there. That it was Andy Helfrich, He was the best man in my wedding, my original wedding. But anyway, Andy was my best man,
Yeah.
and Bruce, and there was several other cabins back there that the camaraderie back there was just phenomenal. And Don, your father would come in. It was funny because he was careful to come in at certain times. He was great, but he would always come in, not always, but sometimes, and he'd wake me up, and he'd always say, "Good morning, sunshine. Get up. You got to run to make to Glens Falls." Like he'd be in at 6 a.m. and he'd be shaking me, and so the guys would. A couple of times the guys knew that he was coming, and he'd walk in the front door and they'd all synchronize. They go, "Good morning, sunshine. Good morning, Pug." Have to get on the road and do a run to Glens Falls to pick up paint, or Amsterdam, the train station, or whatever. And
You were a very versatile chauffeur. You're not going to believe this, and I'm going to figure out how to put this in, but I have a video clip of you there in that cabin, outside that cabin. Mike Burge is sitting in front of the cabin, and he notices me with the video camera, which is like a real new thing at the time, and he gives me like a choice hand gesture just to be like funny because that's the way it was down there. And I'm going to make sure that that gets seen as part of this, and you'll see it for the first time.
Amazing.
I don't think it wasn't 6 a.m. because I wouldn't have been there at 6 a.m., but it was probably 4:30 in the afternoon. But it's
No, and to quote Jimmy
going to be
Olsen,
part of this.
that video shouldn't exist, but it does.
That's right. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
A perfect segue for that. So yeah.
I remember picking up Bill Weddington from the Mavericks and picking him up at the airport. And I had taken the, do you remember of course you remember the tan van, the customized van, Don.
Sure. Sure.
And we couldn't figure out how to get the seat far enough back to get him comfortable because he was like 6'8", 6'9".
And he was 6'11", I think.
Or whatever. Yeah. And I said, "I apologize. This is what they sent me with." I was trying to get. We got him in there, and he was fine, and then we got him back. And oh, that's another thing. So your grandfather and your father, they were smiling with me because for whatever reason, I just really love to detail those cars, and I would detail the van, and I would detail the white van and the custom van and whatever, and they were appreciative of it. And the funny thing was, though, is I said, "Could I detail the green Nova?" And they're like, "No."
No.
Or Chevelle, whatever it was.
Yeah, your dad's
yeah. Don't even look at it.
No, I said, "Can I?" No.
Oh, that's so good.
I think you probably could have proven yourself. You were probably really close to that, but he sold it when I was in college to actually help put me through college. So that's
Okay.
story.
Quick question. You don't have to answer number 3 about your kids, but do they have any clue how awesome camp was? Like, I don't feel my kids understand at all how
Yes.
amazing it was.
The answer is yes. And I learned through I can answer it as quick as I can. I think.
Take your time.
I have one son,
Mhm.
and he was a big hockey player his whole life. He played all through college, won a national championship in
Oh, wow.
2022.
And he played in the arena where the U.S. hockey team won.
Many times.
I put that in the book. I didn't. Yeah, that was
Many times. Yeah. So big hockey kid, and he loved Lake Placid. I really thought Camp of the Woods would be perfect for him. Because he's going into Christian ministry as he wants to be a chaplain. He went to Hope College in Western Michigan, played hockey for them, big hockey program, and then he's got a full ride at Baylor University right now. And he said, "Dad, I want to spend my last summer at Michigan at Camp Geneva, which is a Christian camp on Lake Michigan." And I was like, "Oh, I really wanted him to go to Camp of the Woods," because I thought, I want him to experience the same things that I did.
Yeah.
And he went with his hockey buddies to Camp Geneva in in Michigan, on Lake Michigan, and he had the same, I'm not going to say the same memories, but it's the same quality, because he was doing exactly what we were doing and making a difference and being with close friends that he'll be with for life, guys that he played hockey with. And so he's heard all the stories from Camp of the Woods. I've taken him back to Speculator. He totally gets it, but he was making it was his path, and I let him have it, and I think he gets it. I wish he could have experienced it, and who knows, maybe on his path in as a sports chaplain, by the way, Donnie, we're trying to get him an internship with the Steelers next summer.
All right.
Yeah, some people I grew up with, my brother, and they are good friends with the chaplain for the Steelers, so we're going to try to get him there.
I know a few people there. Please let's talk after this, because to whatever extent I can help plant a seed with a couple folks I know there, I'll do it, and we'll see what happens. But seriously, please do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Normally we do story time with Tom after this.
Can I ask you, going back to the last question, there was one question you had, number 3, Tom. I think it said, name your favorite child. Are you really trying to pit families against, like?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is that what we're okay? Yeah.
Name your favorite parent or child.
Okay.
I mean, if you've got dirty laundry to air, we want it right here.
All right. Moving on.
All right. So this is story time with Punk. Now, you wrote this in one of our previous recordings. I read this because when I read it in the book, I was like spitting milk out my nose because it was so good. And so I think actually it'd be so much better if you read it, because I want to hear the intonation as you're reading this. So I'm going to put it up on screen with the author's permission. So I got both authors right here. So
yeah.
So if you want to just go ahead, there's I think there's 4 pages of this. Shouldn't take too long, but this is just gold. I love this.
All right. I'll give it my best shot. All right. Let me get comfortable here. Need a fireplace and, like a little
pipe.
All right. Our preseason crew of the 1980s was such a tight-knit crew. There was a dedication to the job, 80s fashion, and music with spirited fun and hijinks.
Heck yeah.
While the workload was legitimate, we were also privileged to be benefactors of Steve Miller's Cooking at Woodlands.
Yes.
At some point during the preseason, Chef Steve created his much anticipated baked Alaska dessert for us, a treat normally reserved for the paying summer guests. Bruce O'Byrne and I couldn't get enough, and it almost got us into trouble one night. A mere 2 hours after dinner, we needed some more. Flashlights in hand, Bruce and I broke into the kitchen by picking the lock with a butter knife, which we kept on hand for midnight cravings. How to explain the significantly decreased quantity of baked Alaska to our coworkers the next day was of no concern at that moment. Using napkins and plastic cutlery to hopefully leave no trace, we inhaled several generous portions in no time. So far, so good, until, to our horror, we heard footsteps coming up a loading dock. We scrambled up a step ladder to the top of the giant walk-in cooler with the dexterity of gymnasts. There was only about 2 feet between the cooler and the ceiling, just enough space height to flatten out and stay unseen. We heard the doorknob turn and saw the room light up overhead. Trying hard not to breathe loudly is one thing. It's entirely different effort to stay silent when you realize it was Mr. Gordon Purdy, the big boss, in the room. He too was following his craving for baked Alaska as he moved towards the walk-in cooler. Only he had no intention of eating and running. He took his sweet time savoring his generous portion for what he felt like an hour. How we stayed quiet up there that long, I'll never know. But when Mr. Purdy eventually left, we got out of there and back to our rooms. Fortunately, our preseason pals never ratted us out despite getting shafted out of another helping of baked Alaska the next day.
Absolutely Genius. It
I
is so good. And you read it so much better than I ever
feel
could
like
have.
it was like James Earl Jones or Morgan
Yeah, like
Freeman narrating
you've
themselves.
I think you could have a career reading books for a living. That was
Yeah.
amazing.
I'll look into that.
Yeah, I mean Don and I when we talked about that, of course Don to put it in his book, but I could just picture the kitchen and that walk-in freezer, and I'm like, oh yeah, there was a little space up above it.
Which
I never would think to hop up there to hide. Oh my gosh,
Well,
that
I
was
think, I mean, in
amazing.
all honesty, I think there was a little struggle with the door because we did lock it behind us. I think there was a struggle which bought us an extra 10 seconds.
well,
Yeah.
he had a master, obviously.
Oh my gosh.
But the fact of the matter is that we were just snickering and just trying to hold it in. How we didn't get caught,
Yeah.
I'll never know.
I don't. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. Oh,
Well, to that point, I got to share three quick Gordon stories.
yeah.
Oh please.
So there was that one, which is the King. And then right behind it, before I played that concert, he pulled me aside in the garage when I was detailing one of the cars. And he said, now, Ann was your grandma's name, right?
Right.
Yeah. He said, now, Ann and I are going away for the weekend, and we're not going to be here for the concert. And now, don't rock the place out. I understand that don't rock the place out. Just you're gonna be civilized here, right? He said, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Yes,
It'll all be good. He said, okay. And so he knew I was playing, and he was giving me a little advice. And he he came back after the fact, and he said, I heard it went well. And I said, yes, sir, it went well. And yes, sir, it went really good. And so
yeah.
that was number two. And then number three, when I started first year at camp, I didn't get to hear the prayer. And then there was several years later, whatever, I got to hear the
Oh,
preseason prayer.
good.
And I got to hear, please don't let anything happen, like the lawnmowers and the propellers and everything
Yep.
like that.
Very
Like,
specific. Yeah.
huh?
Very specific.
Yeah, it was. And it was genuine but specific, and we knew it was genuine, and we got to hear the prayer for the staff before the preseason.
Oh, oh, that's great. Yeah, there were as Tom said, we were talking to Uncle Bob about hiring, and he's like, you're hiring people with in some cases no experience, and then in the preseason, you're asking them to work with wood chippers and chainsaws and like yeah,
Yeah.
you can only hope that it's you need to be blessed to not um, have things happen. But that's great.
Well, to that point, real quick, was so Jerry Bird started us on painting, and we were
Yes.
painting tentels, cabins, whatever. And in addition to driving the garbage truck, and a lot of it was painting. And I carried that on into Vermont, a painting contractor. Like I said, I started working for a painting company after ski season. I was a ski instructor, and I got a job as a painter. And a lot of that experience was right from Camp of the Woods and Jerry and
You had a full resume for that job.
Yeah.
Like, how many buildings have you painted? 300.
well,
With
yeah, and
chocolate pudding.
Chocolate pudding paint. Yeah.
that's true. And it just popped into my head on the we painted the auditorium that year, which I'm sure all the OSHA rules weren't followed, but we got it done.
Yeah.
And at the very bottom of the left door, the split doors walking in on the off the main entrance. We didn't tell anyone. I think Jerry knew. I think that was it. But all the guys that were involved in painting that, we took a Sharpies, and we
Yes.
all
I remember
autographed
this.
the
Yes.
bottom of the auditorium because we painted the whole thing, and it was just like a section like this big, and
Yep.
it was 8 guys that had painted the whole thing, and we left it, and it
I
lasted.
didn't. I
Huh?
didn't. I didn't paint in there, but I saw what you guys wrote. Yeah,
Oh, you did?
I saw it. Somebody spilled
Yeah.
that you guys had done that, and I went and looked at it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
8 of us that did the auditorium, we autographed it, and it stayed for most of the summer, and then it got seen, and then it got painted over.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it got seen as witnessed right here. Yeah. I remember painting part of that. I don't remember seeing that, but I remember we had a big silver boom box and we had Pix 106.5 on the radio, and
The
I went
outfield.
to, yeah, and the song came on, and somebody said, "Hey, who's this?" And Nate Forrester
Oh.
said, "Oh, this is Great White Lion Snake." He had it covered in some way. One of those one-hit wonders.
Oh yeah.
Now that you brought that back, I remember him saying that. That was that was good.
Yeah,
That was good.
it was just one of those things as we were swatting black flies and hearing it.
That was good.
But yeah, the music was a big part of that. So
Earl always loved the outfield.
yeah, he did. It was a good call. We have to talk to Earl. I did not
So
like.
a funny story.
Yeah.
About
I did
Earl?
not. I walked down in the foyer of my hotel last year, and right at the bottom of the stairs, there he was.
Come on.
Really?
And I looked at him and I said, Earl? And he said, Punk? And I said,
That's amazing.
yeah, there he was. And I'm not sure why we didn't connect beforehand or whatever. Doesn't matter. It was great to see him. And he was there. He was in my
Wait,
hotel.
it was just random. He was going there, not knowing that you were there, or
I gotta ask him before. He only had 5 minutes to. It was great to catch up. We were just
Yeah.
asking about each other's family and so forth. But there he
wow.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know Jim Olson went there to the
Yeah.
Adirondack Lodge, which I want to, yeah, maybe when we wrap this up here in a minute, tell us everything about and why people should come up and check it out. But
Yeah.
I know
I want to
Jim
hear
had a business meeting up there and ended up meeting you and had a great time catching up with you there.
Yeah, Jimmy's wonderful, and we spent that one summer together as roommates at Tentel, and when he was captain down there and at the marina, and he comes up for the New York State Snowmobile Association meetings.
Oh.
Lake Placid had a 2-year contract. It goes away for a while. Eventually, we'll get it back, but he was here for 2 years in a row, and there again, just the connections were great. Just we're laughing. We go to lunch and we just talk about all the good old times, and it's just good. It's such good therapy, and wonderful to catch up with him. And yeah,
Awesome. So yeah, how do people what's the website? We'll put it on the link here. But,
what's the role? It's a Marriott property, right?
yes, it's called Grand Adirondack Hotel. It's on Main Street, Lake Placid.
Okay.
It's was originally built in 1927. And it was completely renovated. We finished it in September of 2022. Throughout the pandemic and everything, we got it done. It's beautiful. It came out nice. It's right beside the Olympic Center, so easy walk to all the Main Street and the Olympic Center and so forth. And director of sales and marketing, and try to develop new business for the entire region, not just my hotel, including Hamilton County, by the way, as part of my role. Yeah, it's a great role. I'm blessed to have it, and it's great to be back in the Adirondacks.
yeah,
That's so cool.
yeah, I'll
Tell
have to
us.
check it out. Yeah, well, Tom, you mentioned that you were interested in going, and
Yeah.
You guys are always welcome. And listen, if I have availability, I got guest rooms in the house, we got the hotel, and I've said this over and over again. Life's short. This life is short, and while we're here on this side, before we go, I really love making a difference and reuniting. And just please come up, and we can go skiing, we can walk, hiking. Just please come up, and I just would. I'd love to be your host, and I've loved having folks come back to Lake. It's funny. I think more people are coming to reunite with me here than Vermont. And I was in Vermont for much longer, and for whatever reason, Lake Placid seems to be an easier draw for people to want to come back. So for whatever that's worth.
what's funny because it's still in the state of New York, yet it's probably further up than it is to get to certain places in Vermont. But
Yeah.
there's a coolness about Lake Placid, obviously with the Olympics,
Sure.
but you certainly make it even cooler. So, yeah,
You still seem like you're the guy who can get stuff.
yeah,
Yeah. So you're in that role still. I love it.
Well, something like that.
All right, yeah.
So fun reconnecting.
It was wonderful, fellas.
Yeah.
It's great, and please don't let it stop here. Let's keep it rolling.
Yeah,
Agreed.
we'll have more to build on, but Steve, thanks. This has been great,
Yes,
and
thank you.
we're gonna hear you play the way people remember. So, all right, gentlemen, it's been great.